So let's see, where's our clock in this room? We don't have one. It's officially 10:06, it looks like. So,
Yeah, it is 10:06, yeah. I
yep,
got the computers telling me.
okay. Oh, well, yes, we can vote on the minutes if Patrick's not here.
I have a couple of things.
Okay, so September minutes, Pat has a couple things.
On 6B, little I, yes, little I.
Uh-huh.
October should be capitalized. I mean,
Oh,
that's a
okay.
typo. And on 6CI, it says others or other who working during the weekend also ask for weekend opportunities. I'm assuming that should be
Others who work.
others
who
who work during the week.
Right, you are.
Yeah, just take end off of that.
Thank you. Could I have an emotion to approve the minutes with those two edits from Pat?
So moved.
Yeah, okay. I second.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you. And so we had a very successful meeting with Hugh Page at the cemetery. We met at the garage where we discussed some repairs required at the garage in Hugh's estimation, including taking care of a sloped roof that needs some kind of shoring up, new shingles, an updated or refreshed bathroom in some way, shape, or form, and wanting to stub out gas and have new electricity installed. And then also the bottom of the garage has wood clapboards, and those are sitting basically on the ground. And so something needs to be done to not have wood in touch with the ground,
With the sill.
the sills.
Yeah.
So those, I think, were the highlights related to what's required on the garage itself. And what did some of you think about going forward eventually to get an estimate of those things? And
So I have kind of a broader point that relates to this, though, which is we sort of saw there, the cemetery has a whole lot of issues that haven't been addressed for many years. And that need to be addressed. And there's different ways to approach that I think at some point we maybe need to talk about broadly. You know, I'm a little concerned that just doing a little ad hoc here and a little ad hoc there isn't the best way to go about it. I think as we discussed, as Patrick alluded to during the site visit, there's things to be talked about relating to what budget things come out of. Do we put things before the town meeting? I think there's a sense that the town is supportive of restoring the cemetery. So I just feel like on some level, we need to approach this from a much broader standpoint than just this little issue and that little issue, because there's a million little issues.
all right, so would you like to itemize what you were speaking of as your issues?
Well, I mean, on the broadest level, and you and I were both on the Zoom with Martha Lyons the other day.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Karen, I know you briefly met with Martha Lyons.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you felt about her, whether you had any conversations. I mean, I would love to see a comprehensive assessment done of the cemetery, and maybe even that needs to be in multiple levels, because, you know, there are a million things that could be done at that cemetery. And maybe sort of prioritizing, here's what you all might do in the first few years, and here's what you all might do in later years. You know, just today, we saw a few random things. You know, there's a whole bunch of trees and bushes that are out of control. There are fence posts that need to be repaired. but you could walk around that cemetery, and find more easily, I think.
Peter and everyone. I did have a meeting with Martha a couple of years ago, and she was
And-
going to talk about what Peter's talking about right now, to actually do a command. When she submitted her report, honestly, I was less than impressed with it. A lot of energy was going to go into research into the history of the cemetery, which we don't need. And when I walked with her throughout the cemetery and said, what do you think about the vault, for example? There's work there that needs to be done. She'd say, well, I would say just talk to a mason about that. Or I want to talk to her about trees, because that was one of my concerns. She would say, well, I think you just need to talk to somebody about that. I like her. I liked her very much, but I wasn't impressed with her work.
Well,
At all. And I do agree with Peter that we do a comprehensive list would be great, but I honestly think we can try that ourselves first. If that doesn't work.
I think those are very good points. I'm glad to hear your feedback from having spoken with her, and frankly, even having seen what she talked about on this Zoom that Candace and I watched the other day. I could see her being a little bit pie in the sky compared to the real practical, down-to-earth stuff, which is what we really need.
Yes, and I think it depends on how we approach it. I mean, if we say we're looking for a landscape master plan, we know we could just rip out the hemlocks around the fence, but is that the right thing to do? We know we could cut them back, but they would look silly. There's plenty of things that we know we could do, and I think unless we have a plan in front of us of like, yes, you have the hemlocks, you have the pines, you have the Namkeg Road, you have how is it all going to look with the Sedgwick pie? I mean, I don't know that any of us have the time or the real expertise to look at the whole thing as a woven pattern or woven landscape. So I looked, after hearing, Martha Lyons is a landscape architect, and after hearing her presentation, I also went and looked on her website. And she has a list of, 20 or 30 cemeteries that she's worked in, and she's often, what she showed in those is often places of needing more burial space. And so she was also designing niches for cremated remains and doing some of that kind of stuff, which typically gets done in sometimes municipal cemeteries, but more often in nonprofit private cemeteries. So I don't know if that's an approach I don't even know if we should be looking at cemetery space, honestly, for future burials. Maybe we should.
Well, I think that's something to talk about eventually, but I think you maybe, I'm maybe hearing a good point that you're possibly getting at, which is like, maybe we need to even break up our assessment into different chunks. Like maybe we just need a landscape architect or something to advise us what to do about the trees and the shrubs and
there are local people. I mean, I can think of two or three who would be worth talking with, at least anyway.
Yeah, that's a good point. So maybe that is step one. Do we meet with one or two or three of them and walk around that landscape and get opinions, and then go the next step? The opinion could either be from, yes, take that down as a safety issue, to no, leave those, right? We don't know what the opinions are going to be. And then how do we tie them all together?
Right.
yeah.
And
So
we need to talk to Michael about what are the requirements for this kind of thing. I mean, there are under a certain amount, over a certain amount, you have to go to a bunch of bidders and the lowest bidder. And I don't completely understand it. So
it depends on the amount of money that we would potentially spend, is what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, apparently, yeah. So maybe we can get a little bit of that. I'm sorry.
and I think a conversation with Michael would be good broadly to talk about some of these issues. I think we had a sense during our site visit today that, as maybe I've already alluded to, there are different ways to fund different things, and we need to get a better understanding of that. And I think Michael can help us with that.
Right.
But then I think Peter's got a good point that maybe it would be good to go in with a list of things, we're concerned about the vault, we're concerned about the trees, we're concerned about the garage, we're concerned about that other historic building,
Yes.
Right, we went into the Hearst House, as it was called, right, Peter?
Yes, and right, I think we all felt like that needs to be addressed in one way or another sooner rather than later. It's just slowly rotting away. The first thing I promised to do is circulate to everybody the historic memo that I did on the property. And somewhere, I think I still have the estimate that a local builder did as to what he thought it would cost and what he would propose to do to restore it. I'm not sure, it already may be in worse shape now than that, but
Right.
at least would be something to look at.
And we can double that just because of all of the
Yes.
expenses
Yes.
increase.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That is another thing to be on our list. So, right, it almost seems like we need a list, and they're in different categories.
Right.
And we need to think about approaching them somewhat.
Great. Well, I can I can at least start the list
That'd be great.
and pass it by you guys, and we'll figure out how to categorize it or deal with it.
That would be great.
And then
Now we can think
Michael,
about how we're
yeah.
going to address the landscape
Right.
issues, how we're going to address the historic building issues, et cetera, et cetera.
And
Right.
just as an information for Karen, Hugh had suggested that both garage buildings basically be taken down and a new one put in between them.
Ooh,
Because of the cost and projects that are needed on the other two buildings. But I just wanted to throw that out so that you were aware that
yeah.
that was mentioned.
It did not get a lot of support from the historic person here.
Right. Yeah. I thought that should be on the plate since it
Yeah,
was.
not
something
not a
that
lot of
you
support for
mentioned.
me either, I gotta tell you. One thing it would be, I think it could be useful, getting back to what he wants to do with the garage, is he has no idea of how much it's gonna cost, right? We don't have a sense of that.
Correct. We don't have an estimate.
He said that there was an estimate on one of them, right? The historic one?
Well, no,
Well,
that's just the one that I'm
that's
talking
what
about that I
you
have, yeah.
Yeah.
So, right, I think Hugh has a vague sense, but I don't think there's any sort of a comprehensive estimate. And
Right.
I mean, he seems to be very good, frankly, at figuring out ways to get things done more
Yeah.
inexpensively than other people might.
Because I asked him on the way back, when we were walking back to our vehicles, I said, I'm assuming that things like, on the historic building, that things like the mechanism for the barn door, he said, yeah. I said, I'm assuming that there are things on that old building that could be salvaged if indeed it was taken downable from a historic aspect.
Right.
And he said, sure, all of that hardware could be sandblasted and redone. So, but I would like to make a comment that when it comes to all the other projects of, if we have somebody come in and do some of the landscape type of work, or estimates, and to take a big project and break it up into maybe do it by section so that we could make a plan of how to attack it going forward. Like if you have one just on all the trees and identify all the tree work that needs to be done and then just break it down into sections, or
Good point.
Yeah,
priority.
I think
Just getting back to Hugh in the garage, I sort of had a sense that he'd like to move forward on that, and it kind of might make sense. And as I say, it strikes me that he seems to be the kind of person who can sort of jerry-rig things and make it happen
Yeah.
where we don't need a huge comprehensive plan for that.
Right.
And I'm not sure, Patrick, you may have some sense, or maybe we need to talk to Michael about, what the funding would be for that. But it may depend, getting a little more information from Hugh as to exactly what he has in mind, but.
I have a thought.
Yes, what is your thought, Patrick?
My thought is that we spend a lot of time asking residents to maintain their properties and specifically preserve trees, because it's in the interest, especially looking forward, that we preserve trees. It's keeps the ground cool. There's a lot of good reasons to preserve trees, and we encourage residents to do it. We spend a lot of time encouraging residents to respect and maintain historic structures. We spend a lot of time encouraging folks to have a thoughtful plan. And I think that what we got to do is we got to basically, not just talk the talk, but walk the walk, as they say. And I think that we should inform whatever our plans are for things like trees and things like historic structures with the values that we ask everybody else to maintain. And I think it starts with us. So my personal opinion is, come up with a use for the historic building or not. But, I think we have to be cautious about sort of not, we probably waited longer than we should have. And if that means that we can't save it, then that's yet another lesson learned, but it's a tough lesson. And if it can be saved, I would love to see it saved. So, that's just my thought. Too long?
Agreed.
A tiny bit. I suggest that we find out what it's going to cost to do the repairs that he wants to do now, and talk to Michael about how that could be funded. And if it turns out that it's egregious to our overall planning, we can change we can not do that. But in some respects, I feel like I don't have enough information.
Michael, I don't know if you were at that meeting, Karen, but at the last meeting, Michael said that he thought that the newer garage is town expense, and that the town would pay for that one way or another, which
Which would come out of a general fund rather than the cemetery fund.
That sounds good to me. I mean, we just have to decide if we want to approve that or not, or at least ask them to go forward. Maybe that's what we need to do. Maybe we don't ask, maybe we say, yes, we approve this. We say, please go now and find out what it's going to cost. But maybe it doesn't matter because the town is going to do it.
I agree. Right. Frankly, I kind of think we could say, we visited it. It needs work. Michael and Hugh, go at it. And we are supportive of whatever you guys decide.
Right, it's not like he was adding,
No, he's not.
luxury bathroom, right?
Luxury condominium.
Right.
So no jacuzzis or anything like that, right?
No, sorry to say, Karen, yeah.
My guess is that the maintenance it needs to have some stuff jacked. A lot of it seems sound like he could do it. My guess is 50 or 100 grand. We either throw it in the next bond bill or just take it out of free cash. It should be, that building is used for Lake Drive. It's used for some random mowing around town and for cemetery, the equipment in that room, in that building.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
It's easy to characterize and reasonable to characterize that as a town, as a highway structure. It is not only worked on the cemetery I don't think it should.
And I think that was Michael's feeling too, that he expressed at the last meeting.
I have a ignorance question here, and exactly what is the cemetery trust fund? And
Well, yeah, that's a very good question too, that I don't know if it's exactly on the agenda, but I'd like to find out more about that and what's in it. And we need to also, I think, almost like have a plan as to what do we use that for, and so on and so forth.
I think we should add that to next,
Yeah, and I can tell you, we can talk about that at the next meeting, but I did some research on it when I was starting this whole process. And it's a very weird fund. It's a very Stockbridge. It comes from a long time ago, and it's actually, technically speaking, it's not a trust fund. There's no trust that goes with it. So I often call it perpetual care, just because I think that's more legally, I have worked with the assessor, not the assessor, the treasurer, and she couldn't find any information on it at all.
Which is left in it, because we appropriated some out of it, didn't we?
Oh, yeah, we did, yeah. That's something I was thinking about, talking to the treasurer and finding out what is left. We've left about 100,000 in it.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So let's do that. Let's find out what's in there. And
so Karen, are you able to work on that for our next meeting?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Thank you, Karen.
But I like Peter's idea of saying, go for it, you know.
But for the cemetery garage, yeah,
Cemetery garage, yeah.
Yeah, as far as our commission says, go for it.
Yeah.
Particularly since it's not
We
coming out of our.
support the town spending money to fix up its town property.
Yes, which is, as you noted, Patrick, is used for other things besides just the cemetery, so it makes total sense that the town is.
And even if it was just for the cemetery, everybody in town has interest in the cemetery.
Yes.
it's true.
Because our taxes pay for upkeep, so everybody should be
So do we
concerned
need to
about the
vote on this?
cemetery. It will eventually be our
I would
home.
recommend that we may, well, look at, I don't think, my thought is this. I think the Historic Commission needs to weigh in on the old building.
Right, we're only talking about the cemetery garage
Not
right
talking
now.
about the old building.
I know, but I'm
Okay.
concerned.
Okay.
But we're not talking, no, really, Patrick, we're
Listen
not
for-
talking about the old building, we're talking about the new building.
Just listen for 2 sentences then, all right? You said if we cannot save the old building, that we should consider, because of the cost of fixing the garage, taking them both down and building something new.
I didn't say that.
Hugh said that.
It was Hugh,
Hugh said that
H-U-G-A.
today.
Hugh said it, I didn't say it, I
Yeah.
wasn't at the meeting this morning.
I'm
Right,
saying
right.
that Hugh said that.
Yeah.
So my point is this, we need a decision on whether or not we're gonna save the old building
Yeah.
to inform the decision on whether or not we build a new cemetery garage or renovate the existing one.
Well, what I would say to that is almost any building can be saved. It's just a matter of the cost. And so, and as you said, it's a policy of the town of Stockbridge to preserve historic buildings. That's clearly a historic building. So as far as I'm concerned, that building needs to be saved and,
Good, have your board say that.
okay, they'd be glad to.
Because then we could have a recommendation based on 2 boards that informs both the old garage, and then we can just renovate the cemetery garage, and the hearse structure, whatever it's called. If that's going to be the recommendation of our boards, let's do it.
So
together.
you're delaying a decision today on our recommendations on the cemetery garage until we understand what the historic commission says
That's my
about
suggestion.
the barn,
Right.
the
Well,
hearse
I think
house.
we
My counter suggestion is we should move ahead. I think Hugh wants to move ahead on his work and, to wait for the historical commission. I think it's
I think that
Not
right now,
necessary.
we can say to Hugh, go ahead and get estimates on the existing garage, because that's what, we need to know estimates on that before.
Well, actually, we don't, actually,
We
Pat, we
don't.
don't need to know
Right.
because
We
we're
can
not.
hand it
paying
over to
for
Mike,
Yeah, so I mean, it's
because it's coming out of the general fund.
Yeah.
We can bring it to Mike and
And
say
we
that the cemetery commission recommends Hugh's list of items that he wants to do to the cemetery garage.
and
And then at what point is the decision made that that's not worth it?
well,
take it down
generally,
and-
as much as I wish they would just give me the checkbook and write things that I would love to spend money on, that's not how appropriations in the town work. We've got a Maytown meeting, and anything that involves spending money will get approved at the Maytown meeting. And that's my point is, yeah, unless it's de minimis cost, and I don't believe it is, to fix either building.
Right.
We're gonna have to go to town meeting and get the voters to approve
Right.
it. So we have 6 months to
Right.
come up with an actual plan, and I would just suggest that getting quotes is not anything we need a vote on, but we could tell them we want quotes just so that we can come up with a recommendation.
Right.
And the more that anybody,
But what if it turns out it's not 100,000? What if it turns out it's 35,000? And Michael says, problem, I got no problem with doing that.
I know 35,000, even 35,000 has got to be appropriated at town meeting.
I understand that, but he might say, there's no reason for us to wait. We can go to the town for that amount of money. It's not a big deal. We'll be, he can justify that. I think like Peter, I'm a little concerned that we're continually, we start moving forward and then we stop because there's this other thing to consider. I mean, at some point we have to move forward on some of these things. And what he's talking about doesn't sound like 100,000. Well, what do I know?
I agree. And it does seem like Hugh feels like he's ready to move forward in one way or another. Like, why make him wait till May?
But if there's not an appropriation in
Right,
place
right.
for whatever it is,
Well,
What are we gonna move forward with?
well,
Well, we
that's,
don't-
I'm
we
not
don't
up on
know.
that, but it seems like
That-
Michael
that-
has
Right.
random funds floating
Who
around.
doesn't?
Well,
So if I produce the list of recommendations
Let's get a quote.
and we go to Michael and say, you know, the cemetery commission would like to see that this gets done. We don't know what it's gonna take.
It's your job.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's your job.
Wasn't he
Okay.
talking about there was roof work, there was foundation work, or whatever the base sets on?
Yep.
And then there was rot
Toilet.
along the edges. Do we really think that's, I mean,
that's important.
I know it's important, but it's
Oh.
not cheap. is
Oh,
my
right,
point.
right. I don't know what it's gonna cost.
I have no
Right,
idea. I
Right,
don't know. I don't build.
Well,
right.
let's stop arguing about it because we don't know what it's gonna cost. Let's,
Yeah.
I like
Let's get
that.
quotes. Yeah.
What was
Yeah.
that?
No, let's get quotes then. I don't care. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Ask him what he needs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
But, you know,
All right,
So
let's
do
move
we
ahead.
need to make a motion then, or?
sure.
I don't really know that there's anything for us to decide right now, is there?
It's because
Yeah.
Q's going ahead and getting quotes, right?
Maybe you just ask Michael to step in for 2 minutes because he knows how all this works. He's right down here.
No, I really, we have, our list is huge today. And I really don't think it's a great idea.
Right,
Okay.
We'll get caught up in that for another 20 minutes and we won't get to everything else, so.
right.
Should we talk about the posts? Do we need to talk about the posts?
Yeah, so the posts, there were,
Bunch.
well,
3 granite, 2 broken marble.
it turns out there are, at the corner post is granite, and the 2 posts to the right are also granite, so we would recommend that those all be changed to marble. And then there were 2 other broken marble on the Church Street side. And there was another post that had maybe, I don't know, a 4-inch diameter chip out of it at the corner that, you know, once it got cleaned, it may not look so obvious, but right now, because they're black with a white chip, it's obvious. It didn't really look structural, but we might want to go to replace that one as well.
Hugh said that there was a quote already for
Yes.
that. Does anybody know anything about that?
So what he gave us was a per post quote. And yes, I have it somewhere.
Does that also have to go before the town?
Well, I think that's a good question.
So marble fence posts are 1,900 per post, and the corner post is 2,200 per post. So what did we just say? We have 5?
Yeah, 1 corner post and 4 other ones? Is that what I thought you said?
I think so.
So 7,600 plus 2,200. So we're looking at,
So it's roughly $10,000.
looking at
Yeah.
$9,800 in posts.
So it strikes me, this might be something we would spend.
I don't know why on these kind of questions, we can get an answer right away if there's money. For example, maybe, for example, there's some money on maintaining Main Street that's in a budget, a capital or operating budget that we don't know about.
Right.
If we don't have something like that, then we would need to go to town meeting. But if we do have it, we could order it right away. I think we should, to Karen's point about getting things done, I think we should decide right now if we can get it done, you know? But it's up to you guys. I can.
And so what you're saying is that's going down the hall and talking to
Yeah,
Mike.
no, just have him come in if he can. If not, we'll ask him for the next meeting.
Right. Why don't we just ask him for the next meeting?
Yeah, let's do that.
I appreciate that.
All right.
Yeah, we can, yeah, I think it'd be nice to
I
have.
mean, motion that we go ahead with the posts.
I second that motion.
Well, what do you mean by go ahead?
We want to recommend. that
We want to recommend that we do them.
Yeah.
replace them.
And either
Yes.
take it out of existing appropriation, or if that's not possible, recommend it for town meeting in May
Yeah.
of '24.
That sounds good to me.
So should we vote?
I make a motion, we endorse the idea of replacing the post.
I think I already had a motion on
All right,
it.
so I second Pat's motion.
Yes.
Losing track.
All those in
now-
favor?
I,
Aye. We gotta say aye with our names because Karen's on Zoom.
Karen, Karen Marshall. Karen Marshall, I?
Aye, Patrick.
Aye, Candace.
Aye, Patricia.
Hi, Peter.
All right. We all ayed.
Do you want to make a similar motion on the garage then? I mean, I'm not trying to hold anything up.
Well, it's in exactly the same situation. We don't know about the money,
yeah.
what bucket the money's coming from yet. That's what we're saying.
I make a motion, we endorse doing the repairs necessary on the garage structure.
I second.
Second.
Aye,
All those in favor?
Patrick.
Karen, I.
Aye, Candace.
Aye, Patricia.
And I, Peter.
Okay, I make a motion that we ask the Historic Commission to weigh in on the importance of preserving the Hearst structure.
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye, Patrick.
Aye, Candace.
Aye, Patricia.
I, Peter.
I, Karen.
All right.
And then, Peter, you and Karen should, are you the chair now or is Linda?
Linda.
Linda. So you and Linda and Karen, how's Linda feeling? Good? Better?
I'm not sure actually what the latest is.
Yeah, good. I think it's important that the chairs and vice chairs get together on a plan to get the renovation cost. I know on things like historically, when we did the chime tower and we did the soldiers monument, we had, there was a little bit of advocacy around things like the budget and the monies and how to approach a job, because we don't have that expertise in town hall, necessarily how to do historic renovation. So, you know, I think that to the degree you're comfortable, I don't know how to approach the actual work of getting the numbers together. We could, you know, there's a guy repairing the Wolves house. Mr. Lanou lives up on Shamrock. I mean, we might be able to reach out there. I just feel like there's experts in historic preservation that Pam might be able to help, at least give a sense. I have no idea, but we're going to need to kind of understand the financial implications of that.
Yes.
Yep. I don't think there's any disagreement with you on that one.
No, I just don't know how to, I'm really quite raising a question about how to manage it.
And maybe we could put that on for Michael too, to perhaps opine on at the next meeting.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
This seems like something we might want to put in the Maytown meeting. We could come up with something between.
That's what I mean, yeah, let's get done.
Yeah.
Just sitting there rotten right now.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on, can we? Preservation Inc.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe Karen, you could give us an update on their
Yeah.
contract and what it is we need to
Yeah.
we need to vote on some money.
Yep, there's two proposals. One is for the transcription of the gravestones in the Old and Curtisville section. That would be done in December. It would be Ian and one of his friends or one of his companions. That's not the right word, but you know what I mean.
Colleague, yes.
Colleague.
Thank you.
Or associate.
There we go. And he would then put everything into the spreadsheet that we have for the entire entire area. So that would be $16,200. And I think we should say yes and tell them, you know,
And this would come out of the cemetery fund? Is that?
yeah, yes, it
Yeah.
would.
So,
No, wasn't this already appropriated last year?
Cemetery
Yes.
fund,
That fund is big. I'm gonna find out how much is left in it, but we took out $362,000. And it's sitting there and we're pulling on it. So I'll find out what's left in that availability. We have the money for this.
the 16,000 is coming out of the money that was appropriated from the cemetery fund.
Yes.
It can't come out of the 100,000. We can't access the 100,000 without.
Got it. Okay, I understand that, right.
Right.
In other words, the town meeting voted that
to pull the money out, make it available for the
Cemetery commission can
Yes.
draw
As long as
from,
that money is still available out of that money that was appropriated.
Yeah, oh, yes, believe me, it's still available.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so that's the first one, and I make a motion that we approve it, and
second,
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye, Patrick.
Hi, Candace.
Hi, Patricia.
hi, Peter.
I, Karen. Okay, the second one is a proposal for additional resetting workshops with the highway department. One is for spring of 2024 and one is for fall of 2024. And that is 33,800.
And that's part of this money that's already been appropriated also.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right, and so we had a request, this is resetting, so this is just with the highway department.
That's the highway department, yeah.
Okay,
And I make a motion that we approve it.
How much is this?
Second,
$33,800.
Okay.
So this is something that Mike and Hugh will schedule with Bill and Ian.
Yes.
Okay,
I just would like to modify this one, subject to confirmation that the money is appropriated. The money is available from the appropriation we had.
No, I disagree. The money is there. I'll bring it to you next week, next time, but we don't need to do that. We really don't, not right now.
All right.
so I'm sorry, did somebody make the motion?
she did.
Okay,
I think I seconded it.
okay. So all those in favor of the $33,800 resetting workshop? It sounds like we had the motion, the second. All those in favor?
Peter
Talk about this
says
one
aye.
more second. So we had one resetting workshop, right?
I don't know if it's
Yes.
one or more than one, but there have been resetting workshop for the town employees. And
Right.
they fixed monuments that had more than a 10-degree lean.
Yep, yep. And they were working on one when we were down there.
That was a different group, but yes, somebody else was somebody else was down there today, Karen, doing replacing the foundation around an obelisk, a granite
Oh,
obelisk.
good. I'm glad to hear that because I was actually going to write to Ian and Bill and say what's going on with that. That's a group that we've hired separately to do that. Those there are 5 monuments that are being done. So I'm glad to hear they were there because been kind of wondering what's been going on. So
So for this additional resetting workshop, is it that we need more training in resetting, or is this to actually do the resetting?
it's both.
Yeah, both.
It's both. The highway
We have,
department.
there's a proposal here. Page and a half of single spaced.
Yeah, no, I'm just wondering, obviously,
What's your concern?
Yeah, what is your concern?
well, I mean, we have other renovation or restoration projects, and there's a limited, I mean, for example, the Sergeant, I don't know where the other projects stand, and $33,000 is 10% of what we appropriated, and I'm just wondering if they
Patrick?
need additional training, hold on, if they need additional training, that's great. Or if there's specific stones that are gonna be done as part of it, that's great, but at some point, they're trained, I would assume, and that's, that the highway is a fixed cost that we don't pay. And, but nobody's gonna pay for restoring the stones but us,
Patrick?
Yeah.
Actually, keeping the stones upright actually should be job number 1. We haven't made it number 1 because cleaning is very effective for looking at other people. But once those stones fall and break, they're gone.
My question was,
And the highway department has asked for this. They want to come, they want to do this again. I think it's really important that we do this.
I do too, I'm just wondering, at some point, will the highway department be qualified to reset the stones themselves?
Well, we don't
Or
know.
are they-
But that's the idea from this proposal.
Okay, but
Yeah,
what,
and I can tell you that,
the point I'm making is this-
they ran into like weird situations for some of the stones. And so I think maybe Bill and Ian felt they didn't get to see all the different types of issues that could be there. So part of this training, as they've already identified the stones that need to be uprighted. So there's already the assessment done for that repair. Now, potentially in the future, if we want to repair the Gideon Smith stones down on, Old Stockbridge Road or down near Lake Mackinac, that could be a future thing that the town takes on its own after they've had this
Okay.
training, I think.
Good.
If we want to do it that way. So
I don't think, I agree with you, but I don't think we're there yet, Patrick. I
Right,
think
right.
The
I'm
highway
not talking
department
about
doesn't.
Gideon Smith, I'm just simply saying.
No. I'm talking about the highway department doesn't feel they can go off on their own and do it anymore. I think
But
they
we're,
still want,
Yeah.
but
they
there's an
still want the
assumption that at some
training.
point they get there.
Yeah,
Excellent.
Of course.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, and that's what this proposal hopefully is going to get them there, knock on wood.
So that answers Patrick's question.
I have one other question. Is somebody responsible for documenting the processes and procedures necessary to do this work?
Yes, Ian and Bill are documenting everything.
As part of this proposal, we get a little manual so that for posterity that says, here's how you do X, Y, and Z. Because once again, people come and go, employees come and go. I want to make sure if we're investing this kind of money in training, that we come out of this
Right.
with a plan to keep people trained.
Why don't I'll check with Ian and Bill and see if a manual is the best way to do it.
I don't mean, you know, saying
yeah.
cheat sheet, it could be
right.
just a one pager, but
Right.
I want to make sure
No,
that.
that's my point, whether it's a manual or a sheet. I don't know that written words on a page will necessarily get the information across. And I will check with them to see what they think would be good down the road.
All right,
Okay?
Yeah. Great,
good. Or video even.
Right.
Actually doing this.
Yeah, a video sounds like a better idea, actually, to me, but I'll.
I do too, and I mean, it might.
Pictures,
How many days is this
1,000 words.
workshop?
There's 1 week in the spring and 1 week in the fall of next
they
year.
had to split them up, they couldn't have 5 days altogether.
So,
That was because the highway department.
no, I'm good, I'm good. So, but to my point is, if it's how much is it, 33,000?
Yes, almost
So-
34.
So if we can, if they think a videotape of this would make sense, video, whatever, a digital recording of it.
How old
would
are you?
be good. I would support budgeting 36,000 or whatever and having someone actually there set up, when you get CTSP in, they'll actually, it's not very expensive. And they'll actually come in and they'll actually shoot all the video for you as part of the workshop. And that gives us the parts that we need. And I'm just saying, let's think through how we're going to document this now. And if it takes a little more money, let's do it.
I like that idea, and I think we should appropriate this 33,800 right now. And then maybe next month, after you have a chance, Karen, to talk to Ian and Bill to find out if they like that idea of having a videographer, and then we
Yeah.
can approve that for at next meeting.
Good.
Okay.
All right.
Good idea.
So do we have a motion to approve the $33,000 quotation? Has that been made?
So
I
moved.
make a motion.
I will second.
Hi,
Excellent.
Patrick.
Aye, Candace.
Aye, Patricia.
Aye, Peter.
Hi, Karen.
All right.
Now, as far as the cleaning workshops, they haven't proposed anything for spring yet. And I will also check with them on that.
Okay.
Okay?
That was cool. That was the first time I had done it.
Oh, did you
yeah.
like it? Did you like it?
Yeah, it was cool. I was able to actually read the person's last name
Yep, you got, yep.
after I
Well, that
cleaned.
was very cool what Candace had in Stockbridge
Oh,
updates.
Oh, no,
And
that-
who knew that Hester Prynne was even buried here?
no, it was Esther, it wasn't Hester.
I'm going with Hester Prynne. Whatever that is.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. My red A is showing.
Little A. Little A.
Is there anything we need to do related to the sergeant tombstones?
Yeah, I think in a sense there is. I think we have to. They have made it. Have you read the report that they wrote about? They've
Yep.
made it pretty clear that we shouldn't go with marble legs. We should
Yep.
do some kind of granite underpinning. So if we can decide to approve that today, then I can go back to them and say, go ahead and do that. They were even talking with Hugh about using things. There was a possibility they could use something Hugh already has. So, so we could say, work out what that's gonna be. It's gonna be a lot less than what I asked for from CPC. So, I know I went through the CPC stuff the other day, and I noticed that I said that this grant didn't include the legs. But now
Okay.
I'd like to go back to the CPC and say, it's all going to be cheaper, and I'd like the rest of the money to go to the legs. And if there's even more money left over, there's actually another stone that's laying on the ground that isn't supposed to be laying on the ground. It's right above the sergeant stones. And I thought maybe we could ask CPC about funding that, getting that up off the ground as well. So what do you guys think?
I have a wacky question. Are any of the posts that were getting replaced usable for the granite for under the Sergeant Stone?
Oh, well, we do have that. I don't know the answer to that. The posts are, what's that? They're not, they're not.
Convex, or whatever it is.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think
Yeah.
that you can't fool it. And I think they're talking about doing something very simple, like using curbing stone or something.
Right,
That,
right.
Okay.
as Karen
I
said.
guess my question is this, what was the actual language of the CPC warrant item? Do you know?
Hold on one second. The actual language of which part, because there are multiple parts, so.
For the Sergeant Stones.
That's the only thing I went to the CPC about.
I'm asking what the actual language on the warrant was, if you know.
Oh, no, I don't have that.
My point is, it's a sentence, all right? We appropriate money for the Sergeant Stones.
Oh,
It's a sentence.
conservation and restoration of the Reverend Sergeant Stone and Abigail Williams Sergeant Stone tome slates.
Okay.
Okay.
That is the entirety of the language that governs this appropriation, okay? So, and how much was that, Karen?
How much, what I asked for? I asked for 42,000.
And how much was it, how much was on the warrant? 42,000?
Yes,
Okay, so that's 42,000, and
they've used some
talking
of it
about
already.
legs. We don't need to be talking about curbstone. We have $42,000 appropriated at town meeting to preserve and renovate Sergeant Stone. So read the sentence.
Those two, not the third stone, so.
Not the third one. So I would have to ask for money for that, but that's separate. But
Right.
I did say in the application that it didn't include the making the legs. Because at that point, we weren't sure, I wasn't sure if the legs were
We're
gonna
not
be.
doing legs, so that's fine.
Right,
But Patrick makes a point that
the
what
warrant.
was approved at town meeting is very broadly worded, so it could include the legs, even if we.
Right.
But we're not doing the legs, so that's
Right,
fine.
we're doing curb.
We're doing curb. So
Right.
that's
Right,
great.
right, by legs.
If we get done for 42,000, we're in good shape.
But what I think perhaps what we need to vote on is the recommendation that Preservation Inc. made, which was not to recreate possible fiction, but recreate a curbstone for the tablets to be up off the ground. And so,
Yes, thank you. That's it exactly.
Not gonna
That
do a
is-
little lion claws or anything.
no, we're not gonna have little feet. No,
I
so,
make that motion.
okay,
I make that motion that we get it done. If we can get it done within the 42,000, we finish the project.
I think we're gonna have money left over from it, but
Good.
that's
Okay,
great,
great.
We can talk
Okay.
about that.
so, okay, thank you, so. And all those in favor of going with the
Aye.
Preservation Inc. recommendation for the
Peter is aye.
Peter's eye, excellent.
Patricia's eye.
Candace's eye,
Patrick's aye.
Patrick's
Karen
eye.
is aye. Karen is aye.
A lot of peas.
And that's true. Awesome,
I do like the lion's feet, just saying.
okay. Put them at your house.
Yes, exactly. The yellow pillars. Needs some of that D2.
Okay, I think we're done with the Preservation Inc. stuff.
One last thing is, I think we should, if we've
Got 4
appropriated a lot of
minutes
money for cemetery renovation, restoration, I think we should literally buy a couple cases of that D2 and start to spray things like
That's actually later in the, it's later in the, I'm gonna bring that up. It's later in the document.
Yes,
Later.
item 5 on the agenda.
Right.
I have 4.
Yes, item 4.
Okay, I wrote to Teresa and told her that we want to do this. And she wrote back saying that's fine, and she's going to put it, she's going to create a new section under cemetery. You know, we've got the agendas and minutes and all that kind of stuff. She's going to add another section. We can put the report in about the Sergeant Tombs.
Excellent.
And she was going to call it reports. I'm wondering if we should call it restorations.
I would rather keep it generic because if we have some other reporting, I would like to put it all there. Just give it one generic, like, if you want to see preservation or landscape, just,
Well, the title of the reports can say preservation.
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Well, the report actually says what it is. So anyway,
Right.
it's not, I checked this morning. I did it, I think Friday, Saturday. I don't know. Anyway, it's not up yet, but it will be.
Awesome. And I think that's also sort of true related to our policies document.
Yeah, I looked and it seemed like it was already easier to find.
Yeah, I had also spoken to Teresa. So thank you, Teresa. Hats off to Teresa for making things easier to find on the website.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was really hoping that we could have some shared server space for the cemetery commission because we've talked about being able to have the cemetery assessment that Preservation Inc. did,
The spreadsheet.
the spreadsheet, have that available for us to, possibly do some work on. And I'm afraid the recommendation is get yourselves a Google Doc drive and share it that way. So I think that's what we'll have to do so that the stuff that we work on as a commission, we just have to maintain it ourselves. And hopefully as each person moves off the commission, it will roll with the next commission person. That we just have to be good about that.
That sounds fine.
Is that the easiest way?
I don't know if it's the easiest way, and honestly, associated with my personal, so this is also associated with my personal email address, right? It's not associated with my commission address, because we don't, as a commissioner, we don't have, it's not a Google world, it's the Outlook world. So, and I already have, my Google Drive is already filled up, and I refuse to pay money to Google to get more disk space. So I've got to do a hell of a lot of cleanup to be able to get more disk space to share another drive. Yes.
I'm thinking this is something, actually, Ian and Bill are very good at this kind of thing. I can ask them about this as well, since they created this thing. And
That's a good idea.
This is on you're talking about just on Google Drive space or on some kind of
no.
long-term?
So I did
Sorry.
speak to Ian and Bill also about this. So their document is huge. What Ian is proposing is he would create another spreadsheet that just had the first 3 columns. And the reason why we're talking about doing this is if potentially we get a group of volunteers available who want to once a month go in and clean stones, we can update our little spreadsheet that just might be the first 3 columns out of Bill and Ian's spreadsheet, but we can link them back later. So that's a way to keep it down to a manageable size. It's just, who knows, 2 meg.
Don't we in the commission want to have access to the entire spreadsheet?
Yes, ideally, I think we should. So I don't know if that's something, a read-only version of the database, could that also go under reports?
Oh, well, that's a thought. Yeah.
Seems
I
like
have a copy.
Patrick, it's biz.
I know. You have a thought, Patrick?
I do, but it's a minute-long thought. I warn you now.
Speak slowly, minute and a half.
It's 3 parts. Comes to information. There's the physical layer. There's the data layer. And there's the presentation layer.
Yeah.
The what layer was the
Presentation.
presentation?
So a spreadsheet is just simply a presentation of data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but it is not a very user-friendly presentation of
It's
data.
not a relational database.
It's
Well,
not that
that's
for
not
sure.
pretty, right.
And it's also not one where you can Yeah, you can have a locked version, or you can have a Google sheet where some people have permission to update and others don't. But it's kludgy to manage compared to, like, for example, once you port it out to HTML as your presentation, you can have a web interface where people can update using a form. And then you can take that same data and you can repurpose it and have people be able to search based on the name on the tombstone, see the tombstone. You can have an interface where you could see either a map to see a location, or you could have of actual visual photo of the renovated tomb. Envisioning how we want this to present
Yep.
is a really important part of any data-driven project. And my suggestion is that we do
Analyze.
something for posterity and not do something about managing kind of a couple of, I don't want to trivialize the.
No, I totally get it, and I can't believe I didn't think of that. So it's perfect for historic,
It's also great.
for research, right?
right.
So is the question really then, is there a way for us to put this searchable database underneath reports from in the cemetery commission bucket on the website?
What we,
Is that a doable thing, right? If I'm going to go do research for the cemetery, where do I start?
so the town website is a plug and play thing from
Yep.
a very large company that does, like, I think they're the
Town
largest player
websites.
in the country, like 1,000 or 2,000. I think there's 10,000 municipalities in the country, and they have like 20% of the market. So that's not very extensible, all right? But the town could have a subdomain, and a subdomain is basically within stockbridgema.gov as a URL, could be cemetery.stockbridgema.gov, and that could be a whole different website, all right? And we can manage that website with volunteers, and there's like, I know a dozen kids at the Waldorf School, or I'm sure the teachers would have at Monument. This stuff is trivially easy. So maybe we want to think about a subdomain on cemetery. So the link comes from the website under the section you have, but then goes to a part of the Stockbridge domain that is specifically a database-driven site that just manages cemetery stuff,
I like that idea.
Yeah. And it's not hard to execute, and most likely done with volunteers. This is like a 10 hours of work to set it up kind of project. It's not.
And would this be something that, do we have to pay additional money for the subdomain?
I mean, the cheapest thing in the world is hosting. So to give you a sense, the subdomain doesn't cost anything. Security certificate costs $40 a year.
The what?
Right? Now,
I'm sorry, what costs $40?
$40 a year.
What
Now,
does? I'm sorry.
The certificate to make it HTTPS,
Okay.
$50 a year, something like
Pure
that.
server, which is
So is there any other
Yeah,
commission doing this?
So let me give you an example. So a site like Stockbridge Updates needs a secure certificate, and it needs a database, and it needs a web hosting, and all together, it's about $100 a year.
Okay.
Every aspect of that is $100 a year, maybe 150. I don't know. It's trivial money. The point is, it's not hundreds, even thousands. It's really inexpensive to set up the physical part. Most of the stuff is hosted. They're giant hosting providers like GoDaddy and others.
Yeah.
It's people to update it that we need to get.
Yeah, it's just basically, and once again, it comes down to documentation.
Yeah.
And having somebody do the initial setup. It's like,
Yep.
just basically, here's how it works. Here's how you go into the master thing, and the only one person gets
The key.
that.
Then it's getting volunteers to do it.
Right. And then you have three ways to input and 4 ways to output or visualize it.
Okay.
And that's it. There's a map view, and there's, yeah.
Is there something some of us can do to get some more information about this and then come back to the next meeting and talk about it some more?
Yeah, sure. I do this stuff regularly, so I'm happy to help.
All right, so
Anyway,
Patrick is in charge of this one.
Sounds good. Thank you, Patrick.
I'll be happy to be the tech consultant on this one, but some of the real questions are kind of scope and scale. For example, let me say, Peter, you have somewhere you talked about, I think it's not in Stockbridge, but you had private cemetery, all right?
Yes.
So somebody mentioned Gideon Smith. We've got the town cemetery. We've got, at Wheeler, there's at least 5 or 6 pet cemeteries. So one of the things is, from the database, we want to envision a database where you could choose the location and then input the information and then see what work was done.
And even the
however
Catholic
you can envision
cemetery.
it is what needs to get built, but you have to think through
Yeah.
the data structure as the first step.
Yep, got it. Got it.
And what questions people are going to ask and want answers to.
And in terms of regional cultural councils, I mean, this could be a great, you got a cemetery in the Hill in Lennox and you got Great Barrington cemeteries. And this is one of those things where it's just a database. The cost to build it is nothing, but it's much harder once you start to build it to fix something you didn't think of.
Right, right.
Okay, Patrick, what can you bring back to us next month that will help us make a better decision? If can you think of some, you can bring some things to us?
Yeah, I pretty much just told you everything I know, though.
And
Well,
that's
you're gonna
what,
have to tell it again, so.
Right, we need something tangible and simple that we can
and that's
understand
what I
we're approving
did
and vote on.
Yeah.
for a living.
Yep.
Was systems analysis. So,
And the reason I bring it up with regard to a spreadsheet is that a spreadsheet is great. We can easily convert a spreadsheet into a database, table. But when you start embedding photos in spreadsheets, they are nearly impossible to pull out and automate the process of then getting them into a database. It's a pain in the neck. So
And so
the only
that's what we
reason I-
have. That's what we have.
That's right. That's why I bring it up now, because if we're doing it that way, somebody's sitting there doing the arduous task of where they stay big enough, because Microsoft has this nasty habit of taking things and making them tiny when you really need them to be. If you want to do research, you want to be able to say full screen and see all the detail of the writing, all the rest of it. And you want to be able to transcribe all the writing and, it gets.
Yeah, see,
Patrick, would it make sense for you to talk to Ian about this?
Yeah,
Because
sure. I'd love to. Give me his number, or if you don't mind.
that would be great.
and someone to say, okay, what are the key fields that people are going to be interested in searching on too?
That's right. That's right. And then as you mentioned, relational. So you've got a tombstone, and then there's fields that relate to that. You've got the location in a cemetery, in a town. No, seriously, it's in the old part. Yeah, there's a lot of different relations here.
Yep.
Cemeteries have areas. Cemeteries have.
And the names on the stones that people will want to search by.
That's
Right,
right.
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 Last name
Okay.
only.
We could talk about this for the next hour,
yeah.
but we should,
Yes, it's
Yeah.
11:08. Let's move on.
yes,
Yes, thank you.
awesome. So stone cleaning?
Yeah, this is what Patrick was bringing up and I had brought up earlier. I think we should buy a bunch of D2. It has to be stored in a warm area in the winter, but I'm sure the highway department has got some warm areas. But
Or Michael's office.
and what I'd like to suggest starting in the spring is that whoever is taking care of the cemetery, whoever's mowing it, that they also, when we get some of the backpacks, and they just start spraying stones that we're not even going to clean yet. Just start spraying everything. And not the stuff that we've done, but the new stuff. That this will work on the stones before we even start to clean them. And it'll give us a step forward on this.
I think maybe that particular aspect you should ask Ian about also in the section that we're working on. Okay, because one of the things he was,
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I meant in the old section, just in the old section.
so he was concerned, he keeps track of every single stone that's getting cleaned. So I think he wanted to know that we would update the spreadsheet appropriately and get the right stone that we hit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but this is just spraying them, not actually washing them. Just spraying them.
I understand, but.
And I don't think we need to mark that until we actually go and clean it. Because we're still gonna have to clean.
Are we geotagging? How are we identifying stone by stone?
They're numbered, aren't they?
They've got Preservation Inc. has numbered every single stone.
But not,
It's in the spreadsheet.
It's in the spreadsheet.
But not,
It's not geotagged or
so
anything.
just so you know, this will be 30 seconds. When we did Ice Glen,
Yeah,
we had the guys go in and create the geotag, the location, the latitude and longitude of every tree we're going to treat.
Yeah.
And that is tied to a database of every single old growth tree in Ice Glen.
Right.
We know exactly where they are.
So
And
that technology was not used for this project.
But we can, that's my point.
We can, and so
Okay.
that,
It is so helpful to
That's
be able
not
to
what we're
map
talking about.
what things are.
right.
Let's go back to the D2, okay? Really.
Yeah, well, I definitely agree we should get the D2. And I know that it had just been on backlog, so we should probably order it, when we can, so that in the spring, you only do spraying when you also, well, no, I guess it doesn't matter. It needs to be above a certain temperature, so it's not something we're going to be doing in the winter, but if we had it in time for the spring, that's what we want.
I'll make a
And
motion to
I
go
love
ahead.
I like the idea of the highway department just doing this as they mow one day and maybe they go around and spray the next day or whatever. We'll talk with Hugh about how to, but I talked with him too, and he said, that's fine, we'll do whatever you want. And I think it will give us a leg up on cleaning. I think it'll make the cleaning easier because the stuff works. I mean, it works months later. It's amazing.
Yep.
So, did you say there's a place where you can, you found a place to buy it? Because we can get it on Amazon, but it's expensive, so.
Right, Atlas, I think is.
Atlas out of Connecticut,
Yeah.
Atlas Monuments, I think it is.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and they have a website. That's where
Yeah.
I've always ordered mine. Are we talking about getting the backpacks too?
I don't know.
I think
Karen,
we should. Well,
I think so.
I'd be happy to talk with Hugh about it if.
Yeah, I
Can
talked.
we get Power Rangers? Seems like it fits this.
Not today. Yeah. Okay.
I'll talk with Hugh and come back next month with that.
Okay, awesome.
Are we
So we're not going to make a motion to just go ahead and get the D2? We know we want to get it.
How much is it, Peter? Do you know?
Well, I think it depends on how much quantity you're talking about. And
okay.
It strikes me we ought to get some more detail. Like, nothing's going to happen before spring.
Right.
That's true. Okay.
All right, because there's little bugs in it.
So is it available now? I mean, is it, or is it
I-
backlogged?
It was backlogged, and then Ian and Bill were able to get some. So I don't know at this moment in time what the situation is, but a month ago, it had been back ordered.
I say order it, unless we're worried it's going to freeze over the winter and it wreck it.
Right. I mean, it always can't go in the garage, right? It's got to go at the new highway department.
A month isn't going to kill us.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. A
I
month
agree.
isn't going to kill us, right? Okay. Let's look at signs. Peter, you want to share something?
I'll try.
Oh, and can you share?
I promise
Share?
nothing. So are we set up for share screen? Is that?
No idea. You have a share button there, right?
So I'll try and see if anything happens.
Oh, look at that.
But I don't know if it's going to show up on the screen here.
I think,
You can't, it's right over in the box. I can show you.
Oh, how do
It is, wow.
It's a miracle.
Miracle.
I'll be right
So-
back. I have to get some water.
okay.
Now, I confess, Candace, I never saw what your design was.
Sure you did.
Okay, very cool.
You saw this one. So, and since getting feedback from people, I've got more thoughts as well, but I don't know if more thoughts is good. So we're looking at a Laurel Hill sign that.
Yeah, so it strikes me, and these are going to be by multiple entrances to the cemetery? And do you have a view? So just these ones right out back here, back to town offices. So this is the Laurel Hill sign that's obviously hanging from a post. It's not an oval, but obviously you could do it oval. This is also out back. This is a Laurel Hill sign that's just thin aluminum, I think, nailed to a post or screwed onto a post.
That's a metal post.
See that there.
It's a metal post and it's some type of,
So I don't know, do people have thoughts like you could do either one. It strikes me that this design might be perfectly adequate and looks good. What do people think and what do you want me to show? And what are your additional thoughts, Candace?
well, now that we're talking about a cemetery, the material of choice in a cemetery is usually a stone. So do we go with a granite post and some type of other structure? Do we, actually do something that looks kind of like a monument, but it says cemetery open, dawn to dusk, or, what,
I mean, you've got multiple entrances though, right? I mean,
right?
that, my immediate reaction to that is that sounds like way too much. Like, you just need signs that say, signs are dawn to dusk.
Structures, their signs are forever. I think we should do a marble post that matches the marble detail on the outer,
Outside
outer
post.
wall. And I think we should have wrought iron, some of the Laurel Hill sign that matches the wrought iron, and then you do this in a nice wood thing that can be painted. And this is standard things that.
And that's not actually wood.
Right, that's made to look
That's a
like.
composite
Yeah.
material, but it looks like wood.
So Patrick, are you suggesting that what we see on the screen now is the kind of thing you think would be good, or?
But I think it should be marble, not granite, because marble is the material
what the
that is
posts are.
used in the proposed already at the cemetery.
One thing that concerns me about marble is, as we now know, marble is not all that strong.
I agree. And
would
right,
be-
even
it would
just,
be-
even to screw a sign into it, I think is a little.
Yeah.
I mean, how come the
And,
marble,
and there's, we know that there's gonna lichen that's gonna get in there and heating and cooling and God knows what climate change will bring.
But when you compare it to wood, wood should not be an option, I think.
I agree.
Pat said this is a composite though, what's on the screen right
No,
now.
sorry, the post itself.
Right, is the post a composite, Pat?
Now, the post is cedar. And that's
Cedar, okay.
it's a 6x6 post and it costs $1,300.
Wow.
people have been having wrought iron gates on marble pillars since the beginning of time. Is there really an argument that that is not a structure that will be maintained? I mean, I could think of 20 in this town, it's.
Well,
I
there is
just asked.
there is something else though, Patrick. Earlier on, you were so concerned about money. This sounds like an expensive way to go.
Yes.
I'm not at all
Just to
concerned
just
about.
do signs that say, get out
No,
of here by
seriously.
sunset.
The things that are permanent should look great. It's the details. Same way that we're fixing the granite outside and, we have
The marble
30 marble posts and 3 granite. It drives me crazy.
Honestly, we do better by getting the stones upright, the stones that are leaning over by more than 10 degrees. We're better off doing that than carrying a lot of money on making signs for the, I think that, it should look very good, but I think it just sounds very expensive what you're suggesting.
I think
And time
the do's and don'ts sign from Laurel Hill, the one that's on the metal, would be, and the like the Sedgwick Path sign, that's all the same composition, and they were relatively inexpensive.
Right, these are inexpensive and
Yeah.
strikes me as
Should I shrink?
adequate. And, this is by the entrance, like, this isn't some beautiful thing.
I think,
First thing people see.
I think this would be appropriate if we had some type of information, not just the open, hours,
Yeah, no,
but,
I'm just talking about
Yeah.
the materials.
yeah. I don't,
What sort of information? Like,
no, sorry, if we do some historic interpretation that we want to put out near where we've just recently cleaned all the stones, something like this
I
would
see.
be appropriate.
But you're saying not for your cemetery open dawn to dusk sign?
Yeah,
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe I was treasurer when we ordered those signs. Those Laurel Hill signs, we got like 10 of them for $8,000. The nice, the ones that look fancy, the other ones, these were like $1,000 a piece. It wasn't like a ginormous expense. It looked nice, but not that. Keep going. Not that ugly one.
you want the one that we
The
just
one
were
that's on the
at.
post.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. It
Yeah.
seems like there's.
That one,
Okay.
something like that, even though it looks really fancy, was not that expensive. We're not talking about thousands of dollars. It was, what we did in the lower.
Post is expensive too, though, right?
What?
How much was the post?
The post was $1,300, but aside from the post, if you took the materials that's made of, the sign itself, not the bracket, but the sign, and put that on some sort of a post a metal post or whatever, and use those materials, I don't think it's going to be that expensive.
Is that sign large enough to include the information so people can see it easily?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
This one
yeah.
is much bigger
Yeah.
than the prototype,
And
yeah.
I don't think you need that bigger sign, and I think a white background is going to be better than a green, because people are not going to see the green.
Yeah, I agree with you. Okay, all right, if you think it'll
But I
work.
think the selectmen were not in favor of that white with.
I sort of like green
I like-
around with white.
The actual motion was we let you,
We'll let the commission figure it out.
Yeah.
We thought we already had. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I've got to go. I've got to.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, we've run much longer than we anticipated. Peter, can you,
I can get from Gee Sign, if you want to send me that in a PDF, or, your
latest
latest
one.
version, in a PDF, I will ask Gee Sign to give us an estimate using the same sign material that they use there.
okay,
That would be great.
just an oval, no pointy leaf stuff, right? Yeah.
Because all you have to do is send them the PDF of what you want, and they will give you a,
And that post is granite,
no, that one.
that's cedar.
wood.
cedar.
That's the cedar.
nice. And
I'm
cedar
talking,
weather is kinda
I'm
gray,
talking
like
just
granite.
about the leaf,
Yep,
okay? Because that's all we need. And then we can ask for what they would think is a post suggestion. Okay.
And I would like, we can ask them for 3 quotes. We could have the cheap material, the cedar material, and the marble or granite material. And I would like to see what the prices difference is. And if this commission doesn't feel it's a good use of.
You mean, you're
sensory
talking about the
resources.
post?
Yeah, I mean, I think if there's an option that is, 500 that makes sense to us, but 3,000 that is the high end, then maybe we try to find someone who wants to donate a couple of signs.
okay, and we talked about 4 signs, even though there are actually 6 entrances,
Ah,
right? So that just adds the money,
Well, they'll give us,
or 5 entrances,
Yeah.
maybe.
I'll get that
1, 2.
estimate.
Are we comfortable that there's a good place to put a sign at each one of these entrances that'll look attractive just in terms of its location?
We
Just drive
have not
along the
identified
road.
that.
Say again?
We have not identified that.
But there's, neon is not allowed in Stockbridge.
Right, no, Nguyen. Could you show some of the Mackinac signs, just in terms of color changes?
Okay, so this is white with green. Is that kind of thing you're thinking, Candace?
Yeah, so we have white and green. I think that's sort of interesting.
And then you can do green with white. I prefer green with white myself.
Yeah, I kind of like that too.
I prefer we look up some examples of 19th century and 18th century signs.
Oh, come
'cause there are
on.
some that are there, and we come up with a simple design that matches the fact that it's a historic cemetery.
are you planning on closing the cemetery then, Patrick? Because the cemetery is still open, it's still quite active, so it's not an 18th or 19th century cemetery.
Yeah, I can appreciate where you're going, and I'd like to find something that seems relevant for today, and easy to see, and yet also.
Serif type,
Also,
sans serif type? I don't
well,
know.
you can find
Go
both.
from serif to sans serif.
Yeah,
We already did that.
you can find both serif and sans serif
I know.
on the monuments themselves. So even like finding a font used in some of those monuments, that's an interesting idea too. It's all about, can you read it, and is it going to stand out as and
Any of these options are going to be legible. It's only 4 words, 1, 2, 5 words.
in fact, we can just say, open dawn to dusk.
But we're not doing that.
Yeah, right.
Simple, beautiful. Simple, beautiful. This is good.
Okay.
This is way better than that.
So you don't care
No,
about
no,
having
no,
a little,
no, no.
like a little open gate?
I like what
Simple,
Patrick is holding
simple.
myself.
Okay,
Simple and beautiful materials, understated, beautiful materials, simple.
okay.
They can be modern materials. Maybe we go with, pressure treated cedar. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that'll be cheap.
All right, so I think we are hopefully grateful to Pat, because she's going to look up some more of this stuff and bring us some more options from Gee's Sign related to pricing. So I think as of 11:26, I would like to adjourn. Is that possible?
Bye.
So moved.
I'll make sense. And thank you, and thanks to Patrick for taking all, to Peter for taking all those, signs.
Yes.
It was really
Yes.
helpful.
We're a team effort here.
All right, guys, take
Okay.
care.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Karen.
Bye.
Adios.